Well, hello, we are live. Hey, babe, I am going to add you now.
My God, I was so sure
Hi.
that I was correct, my timing. But
I
anyway,
know.
you see, I didn't. I was hoping to start making up and everything,
That's
but I've only
fine.
managed a splash of lipstick, so this will have to do.
Listen, it was my fault. When I sent the message, I was like, I was only when I read it back now. I said 6:45. I was like, no, I meant 5:45.
Never mind, and I'm here, so that's all that matters at the moment.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
how are
this is
you?
my first time ever going live on Facebook and Instagram all at the same time. But it looks like my Instagram is having issues,
Okay.
um, which I'm trying to fix right now, but it's not letting me in.
Okay.
So I guess we'll just have to do this Facebook and then put it on Instagram later on.
Later on, yes.
So I can't actually even see who's on, unfortunately.
So we can't answer any.
I'm trying to do new things. I'm trying to do new things, but I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that I can be on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram all at the same time. I
Okay.
just have to fix my end of things. But how are you?
I am great, thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me tonight. It was
Oh,
long
you
overdue.
look like you're 16-year-old. You look like your daughter.
You see, that's the trouble. That's why I like to put makeup on because it makes me look mature. If my face is
Or
bare, I look
how about?
really
Let me
really
give you
young.
5 minutes. How long do you need?
I need about 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. So what I'll do, I'll take you off the stream and then I'll introduce you and say hi to everybody and say what we're doing today. And while I'm doing that, I'll actually try and fix the Instagram thing.
Okay,
So yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah,
5 minutes. So 10 past 6, we should be back online.
let's say quarter past.
Quarter past can do.
Yeah,
Okay, that
cool.
works.
We'll be back at quarter past, and then I'll leave this whole stream in. So I'll be back at quarter past. Just waiting for Elima to get ready. I made a mistake and I told her the wrong time. I told her 6:45 to be ready, whereas really should have been 5:45. So I am just gonna go offline just for 10 minutes, so I can also fix the Instagram side of things, and we'll be back. Are we good, Elima? Are we good? Just thumbs up. Are we good?
That's it.
Okay. Yay!
Much better.
Hi. We're back. Much
Yes.
better. Yeah, like 10 times better now. And I've calmed down a lot as well because it's like
A lot
trying
as
to
well, I
work
know.
things a lot. And oh yeah, you sent already. I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it. Trying to work the comments and trying to. It's like, whoo, okay, let me breathe. Let me breathe. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm literally just trying to get this live going on to oh, there it is. We're live now on Instagram as well. We're live on Instagram as well. But I can't
Oh,
find
good.
it on my Instagram page.
It's all very complicated, isn't it?
I know. And in my head, I was like, okay, maybe we should have tested this before. I did test it before, but like at some random time on my own. But I suppose it's
Okay.
different when you're doing it with someone else. This is a new thing I'm doing now. It's a new month. I'm doing all new things. I'm just trying to expand my empire so it becomes a proper show and, become a bit more good at this, as it were.
Exactly, absolutely. And
So,
the more you do it, the better you become, isn't it?
exactly. So I'm just waiting for it to come up on Instagram, but it doesn't look like it. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do, but oh well, we're here now. It seems to be showing on that side. So hopefully, or it could just be my signal that's just not working very well. Anyway,
All done.
oh no, you're frozen now. So oh wow. Okay, there's a bit of feedback. So okay. Lord. Anyway, hi babe. How are you? How is Bitz and Bobzs? I've finished listening to your last, and I was like, oh my god, I wanted to talk about learning from your mistakes, like how, because literally all of May, end of May, I decided to kind of sit back and really see what works for me and what doesn't. So I kind of canceled all my scheduled posts. I was like, okay, let me just see what actually does work because I felt like I was overworking myself. What
Yeah.
made you come to the decision of doing this podcast?
Okay. You mean this particular episode or just general the
Learning from your
podcast idea?
mistakes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, because if you've been following me for a while, it's literally I've just finished my first season. So I made a lot of mistakes in my first season, but I felt like each episode I was producing, I was improving as I was going along.
Yeah.
So I thought the best way to start my second season was to acknowledge the fact that I had actually learned from my mistakes as well. And I thought that it
Hmm.
was very relevant, especially
Yeah.
considering that I'm starting a new season. So then I would build up from there. Yes. So I've actually released another episode. It's not my latest one. The other one is about giving and receiving feedback. I'm not sure why it's not showing. I'll have to go back to the drawing
It's
board.
not yet, but well, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so I kind of built it from that. So it's all just building up from there. Some skills, just little tidbits, just to help
Hmm.
people as they go along life. Yes. So basically, because I was starting a new season, I acknowledged I'd made mistakes, and I thought I'd let people know exactly how I'd learned from the mistakes, and hope they can take something from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow. That's amazing. So I didn't even introduce you. I just kind of just went right in because
Right?
yeah, already so much been happening today. So this is my friend Elima Audrey. She runs the Bits and Bob podcast, and
I
you're
do.
also a co-host on Zim Thrive.
Mhm.
And I've written it down. I'm such a bad host. This is not good. It's called brain freeze. You know when you're on live and then all of a
Exactly. Yeah.
sudden all your notes go out the window and it's like, oh my god, where is it again?
I know. I know exactly what you mean. It happens to me sometimes when I'm recording my podcast episodes. I know exactly what I want to say. I've been
Yeah.
practicing it. I have notes to hand. But for some reason, the minute I'm behind that mic, I just go blank and I'm like,
Listen,
oh,
I've got my notes on here and I've got my notebook
on
and
as well. You get the
I've actually
whole
got
shebang.
I've got
That
a
is this.
tab open which is showing Bits and Bobs, the podcast on Google. 'Cause I subscribe to it on Google. So yes, it's on Sip and Chat Talk Show.
Exactly. Yes.
So where do you even find the time? And you're a mom of a beautiful 11-year-old,
I know.
and you're also uh
A critical care nurse.
yes, that's the one. You're literally in the front lines. You're right there.
Yes, I know. It's a lot. It is a lot, to be honest. And it can be difficult juggling everything. I suppose time management is not one of my strengths, but I am working on it. And
Yeah.
maybe one day I can actually talk about it and see how I manage to cope. Um,
Mhm.
but I do, because these are things that I enjoy. They don't come to me as chores. So it
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier when I have to produce some episodes, or if I need to do something, represent someone. It's quite easy because I have I mean, I have the drive. It doesn't feel like work, and yeah, I suppose because that's my passion. It
Yeah.
makes it a lot easier, to be honest. I mean, if I felt like it was a chore, then possibly it would be harder. But
Hmm. And which I'm glad because you can hear it like from your voice when you're talking about things because you're kind of talking from experience. And I love the little clip that you put for the Mother's Day one with your
oh
daughter.
yeah,
Was that a voice? Did she leave that voice note? It's like, hi,
yes, she
mom.
did. Definitely, she
Oh,
lifted. Yeah, it was really good, and I thought it would be a good addition. She knows she always wants to be involved, especially with the podcast. I mean, she thinks the world of me. She thinks starting a
oh.
podcast is the most a wonderful thing ever. And she said she wanted
You'd
to go
love it
there
when your love
one
is
day.
like that.
Definitely, she said she wanted to talk about bullying at some point because this was something
Oh,
she experienced
wow.
at school. Yes, I was like,
Wow.
definitely, one day you will come and speak about bullying. I'm sure she has a lot to say about that.
Oh, it's so cute.
I
She's
know.
going to be taking over the world.
I know, yeah, she's amazing, and she's growing in leaps and bounds. I mean, she's a young lady now. She challenges me
Yeah.
on everything, and I think very soon she'll be starting her own podcast. I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. And that's the thing, like sometimes how we try not to, okay, I know our generation, we try not to force our kids to go a certain way. We kind of like generation where we kind of leave them to do what their heart and their passion is going to do. But the thing is, if they're growing up seeing you do all these things, that is exactly what you're going to do. And in how do you actually teach her about the mistakes that you've made in your content creation? Do you actually even talk to her about that?
I do, because the thing is, for the most part, when I'm recording, she's there. So even when
Okay.
I do the little videos, the little skits, she does my lighting. She does the recording and stuff. She is actively involved in it. She's very interested. Like I said, she's very fascinated by it all. So
Yeah.
she knows when I've made mistakes, when things are not going the way that I want them to. But to be fair, the whole process of starting and maintaining a podcast is relatively easy because I do most of the things on my iPhone. So
Which
between
is great, isn't
GarageBand,
it?
Apple Music,
Because
and the
you use
voice
Anchor,
recording,
don't you?
so I use Anchor. Initially, I used Anchor because it's very simple. You record and you publish straight away, and it
Yeah.
uploads automatically on all the major podcast platforms. And then I use Buzzsprout for the sound bites because sometimes you
Okay.
need sound bites, especially when you're advertising a new episode. Yes, and
Yeah.
I post them on social media just to sound bite to see a little segment of the episode of what up, maybe an important part of the episode. So it's
Yeah.
mainly Buzzsprout and Anchor, and it's been working great for me so far.
Oh wow. Wow. I just
But
need to charge my
sometimes
phone and I can't find my charger. Oh Oh Lord, I was so prepared that I actually unprepared myself.
I know
Like I
all
had
about being
everything next to
unprepared,
me.
especially when you're like, oh my God, where are you? I'm like, what are you
That's
talking
why I'm saying I think I was just panicking so much so that I didn't even check to see what time I'd written down and it ended up being the wrong time.
about? Okay.
And those are the little things like okay, obviously I've now on my part again, it's like just like you've been learning like okay, once like when you're upgrading how you record and everything. So I'm doing the same thing now. Like
Yeah.
I'm now upgrading. I want to be on all these platforms, but at the same time, I want to be able to make sure that I can actually do that. Like right now, it's so funny because I'll put my camera in the middle. So every time I move into to be in front of my camera, I'm moving to the side. I'm like, okay, I'm having to re-angle everything. And then I have to remember to look at the camera because
I know that is the most difficult part. I have to literally remind myself every time to look at
I,
the actual camera and not to look at
yeah,
my face.
I know, right? Like right now, I'm looking at you,
I know,
but
yes, and I'm looking
ideally,
at you
really, I
too.
should
And
be
then I
looking
have
at
to
the
like, yeah,
camera, right? But then you should be quite used to because you present quite a lot, especially on the Zim show and the Sip and Chat show. How's that going?
it's going great. A lot of things have been a bit slowed down because of the pandemic and stuff. People was starting to return to work and everything, so it was a bit. But like you said, I do quite a lot of presenting. You'd think by now I'm used to it. But
Speaking on the
every
camera
time.
side,
Sorry, I'm not camera shy. I wouldn't say I'm
yeah,
camera shy, but I do get jitters at the beginning of every presentation. There's never going to be a time when I'm going to be like, oh, I have it all sussed out. But I think those jitters are really good because they kind of motivate me. I'm so afraid of messing up that I almost always do it perfectly.
yeah.
And I find that as the minute I start talking, it just flows out. So, it just gets a lot easier,
Yeah,
basically.
and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Whenever you start talking,
Yes.
then it's okay because
It's
while
okay.
you're
It's just
actually
getting started, introduce
yeah, it's the
yourself
getting
or this
started. And
topic.
then I think the other thing that kind of disheartens you as well is like when no one actually shows up for your live, and you're like, oh my god, now I'm here. And the fact that I've taken quite a few breaks as well, again, it's because it's nerves. Sometimes it's like I can't do this. It's like I put myself in such a state unnecessarily,
I know. Yeah.
so much so that now I'm like, you know what? Let me just do what I do because
I know. Because half the time you already have all it takes, to be honest. Most of us
exactly.
are naturals behind the camera. We all look good. I mean, once we slap on some lipstick, our confidence soars. So
Yeah,
it's like you said, it's just about getting started. And especially if you have all these other issues that you're trying to deal with, like, oh, is anyone going to come to my live and everything? But there's always
yeah.
going to be someone attending. That's one thing for
Yeah.
sure. I've
And
never
I
had
think
a live show where no one was there.
like I know,
So
right?
that alone will just settle me, and then I can focus on the more important things. Um, and I've soon come to realize that as long as you're adding value to people's lives and you're giving them due notice, they're always
Hmm.
happy to chip in and see what exactly you'll be trying to talk about.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes people kind of come on after when you saved it and then it kind of goes on. Then that's when the views kind of come on. So I'm not as it's like I'm not as annoyed as in like the views that are on there. For me, it's now more of okay. I've got a message that I want to share, and for me right now, I literally the reason I asked you to come on is like just it's that whole thing of empowering other women, especially as Zimbabweans. Sometimes I don't know what it is, we shy away from the not so normal careers. We want to stick
That's
to
right.
what
Yes.
everybody else is doing,
Mhm.
and
We like to play it safe.
exactly. And like even today, learning how to put all of this together, like to put the whole live at 6 and put the banners on, it took me a good time to learn. I've been reading about it like for a whole month,
Uh-huh.
but the application of it now when it came to it, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to do it. I'm just gonna. Cause I was meant to start last month, and I postponed and postponed until Kingdom Come. But I was like, you know what? I know Elima will be like, yeah, let's do this, because you're not shy of things. So
No, not at all. Any
you wouldn't
opportunity
let
to
me
get behind the
know.
camera, I will grab it.
And that's what I love about you. So that's why for me it's like, okay, I needed to get you on, because sometimes I'll be like, okay, now I need to do like obviously, especially with the whole side of branding. People need to see more of me. People need to see and hear like how the whole thing of branding was, because
Come
people
together.
sometimes think that branding is a standalone thing, but it works with everything else that you do, right? It's like you have to present yourself the way you want to be heard. So like even when you started your podcast, so I know you had a purpose for it. So what was the purpose? What is the purpose of your podcast, and why is it actually called Bits and Bobs? And I'll tell you a story about that as well.
Okay, to be honest, Bits and Bobs was quite a random sort of name because the idea of a podcast, I knew what I wanted to talk about, but I didn't want to limit myself.
Yeah.
So initially, the idea of a podcast actually came through a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, after the first wave of COVID. So I had quite a lot
Mhm.
of experiences there, and I learned quite a lot from my experience during COVID as a critical care nurse and as a single mom as well. You know, so I always used to vent to my friend, and then she's like, Elima, the way you talk, it's very captivating, and your experiences are very valid. Why don't you think about starting a podcast and sharing your experiences? I was like, yeah, but it sounds like a lot of work. And then she was like, actually,
Yeah.
it isn't. So when I did my research, I actually found that it was relatively easy and I could do everything on my phone because at that point, I was on a very tight budget. So when I heard
Yeah.
of a podcast, I was thinking in terms of a studio and the microphones and fancy
Yeah.
speakers and voice modulators, the whole shebang. But it just all boiled down to Anchor, and I could do
It's
everything
an
on Anchor.
amazing app.
Absolutely. And only on a basic level, but that is exactly what I needed at that time because I was starting out. So once I started it and I got a very good reception from people, and then I just kept on going, honestly. And after a time I got a microphone only because I wanted to to improve my audio quality. Not that it was
Yeah.
anything wrong with it, but just to kind of up my game a little,
I know,
be a
like
little
like
fancy.
as you
I know,
do.
yeah. So yeah, then I got a microphone and then I started doing it on my laptop. So it's all centering around Anchor, to be honest. I mean, it's an absolute gem. Anyone who wants to start a podcast, I highly recommend Anchor. It's a good starting
Yeah.
place. And then I started using GarageBand, doing my own recordings and putting in a
Yeah.
bit of music here and there. So the first episodes when I started using GarageBand were quite disjointed, but I didn't care because I knew that I was going to learn from it, and
Yeah.
each episode was going to get better and better. So this is just something that I've learned from life. The first time can be a bit wishy-washy
I
for
know,
everything.
right?
Yes, but you do learn from your mistakes. Sometimes you don't even realize, and before you know it, you're actually a pro. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is. I'm not saying I'm a pro right now, but I'm certainly better than when I
You're a
started.
lot closer. You're a lot further off than when you started. Like you've done a whole year
Uh huh.
of a season and series, and now you're actually to season two. And like I noticed as well, obviously the podcasts are getting shorter and shorter. Like the last one that I had was like 14 minutes, and there's one that
Yes.
you've done for 49 minutes. I was like, oh wow, that's a long podcast.
It was very long because I felt like I had a lot to say. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I realized that I can't listen to a podcast episode for 49 minutes myself. So why would I expect someone else to do that? So
yeah,
you see, this is what I'm saying about learning from mistakes. I'm always
hmm,
asking for feedback from my listeners or anyone.
yeah,
And they've been really good. They've been offering feedback. Some said we wanted more episodes more frequently. Some said we want them shorter and sweeter. And I listen to
hmm,
everything because ultimately it's all about the listeners. And if you
exactly,
try to
isn't
put
it?
yourself in your listener's position, then you know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah,
So yes, they have become shorter and shorter. So now my threshold is 15 minutes. Anything above 15 minutes, I think would be too long.
good. Right
I
now,
try to stay within the 15-minute mark. Yeah.
yeah. So I was gonna say this. I once heard this somewhere, like how when it comes to content creating, it's like you're supposed, well, not it's advisable to create how you consume. So, like you're saying, you wouldn't listen to a podcast for longer than 15 minutes. So, you're now creating how you would consume because that's how your audience is now understanding you, I suppose, in a way.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Now, saying like, I once heard something about how you should create how you consume. So, like what you've just said now is about how you are now creating 15-minute episodes rather than longer episodes because you yourself only want to listen to 15-minute podcasts.
As far as possible, like you said, I think my longest episode was about 40 odd minutes or something. Yes.
Wow.
So as much as it's a lot of information that was in there, and I felt like each and every piece of that information was valuable, but
Mm-hmm.
people are busy, and especially the kind of people who listen to my podcast are people like me who have families and who have personal, so very busy social busy lives, so to say. So
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
said, I don't have time to be listening to a 49-minute, no matter how interesting it is. It will take a lot for me to listen to it. So the idea is to make it as easy as possible for people to listen
Yeah.
and tune in rather than make it more difficult. And in any case, it's just to keep it interesting as well. So
Yeah.
that's how I came about. I thought 15 minutes was completely reasonable. And I would just deliver just enough content to keep someone interested so they can absorb the information and then just move on to the next episode, so to say. So
Yeah.
in season 2, my episodes will be building up on each other. That way I
Okay.
don't have to condense everything in one long one. But it
Yeah.
can be in segments. So if you want to listen to feedback, you want to listen to learning from mistakes, you want to listen to anything, you can just go straight to it.
Yeah. Cool. So what would so can I,
No, no.
Okay, let me just look at my notes because
No, bless you.
let's not do
There's
that. Let's
no
not do
shame
that
in
to
that at
ourselves.
all. No.
Oh my God. So there's a bit where you said blame should not be part of it. Take every mistake as a learning opportunity. So what kind of blame have you shifted now, and how are you now taking that as an opportunity?
Okay, it can be very easy to just shift the blame to other people or circumstances, the environment, anything other than yourself when something
Yeah.
goes wrong. I think that's most people's defaults. It certainly is my default setting, and it's not very constructive, so to say,
Mhm.
especially if you want to grow. So if you do look at it, as much as it's painful, there is a lesson to be learned in every negative or so seemingly negative experience.
Yeah.
Um, so you know for certain that this is hurting. This is very, I mean, I feel like a failure for whatever reason. But if you look deep enough, you can see that there's a lesson to be learned. Because you know that if you do things a certain way, this is most likely going to happen. So
Mhm.
maybe if you do it in a totally different way, you'll have a more positive outcome. So
Yeah.
if you look at it like that, it can be very, very eye-opening. And that's certainly how I've been doing it. And I feel like I am much more comfortable in my skin than I was before. When
I
I first
know, right?
started recording, it really felt like pulling teeth. It was horrible, like speaking into the microphone and just
What do you
droning
mean
on
like
and
right
on.
now?
But once you realize that, no, what, and I'll tell you something. I think in the first season, I've only listened to 2 of my own episodes. I
Really?
can't go back and listen to my episodes. I can't do it.
Wow.
However, my daughter will have all my podcast episodes on repeat on the television
Wow.
all day, every day.
Wow.
So I am
Really?
forced to listen to my own voice. At first, I used to cringe a lot. In fact, I used to leave the room. I just did not like the sound of my own voice. But I got used to it because it is my voice and I've had it for
And that's the
35
thing,
odd
but isn't
years.
that funny? Isn't that the funny thing where we cringe over our own voice? And this is a voice that you've been born with. That if anything, that's like the only voice you hear 24/7.
24/7, I pray in this voice. I speak to myself in this voice, whether it's in my head or actually talk.
Yeah.
You
But
think
then
by
when
now
you're
I'll be
playing
used
it
to it.
back,
But You think by now I'm used to it, but no, I still struggle. I really, really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's the only way, of course, I could tell when I was going wrong or if anything needed a bit of improvement. So I
Mm-hmm.
got much more comfortable with listening to my own voice, thanks to my little daughter. She really hammered it in. So yeah, I do listen back. I revise before I publish anything. I just listen to it at least once, just to know that I'm making sense, and then I can publish it.
I think I'm like you. I still don't listen to most of my recordings. Whereas I kind of just jumped. I still jumped. I jumped right into video
You know
recording.
what? I totally
I still
understand. I
don't.
know exactly how you feel and where you're coming from. I do the
I
same
don't
thing.
think I will either. I might go back to this one just to kind of see where the faults went because it's meant to be streaming on Instagram and it's not. So it's like one of those things. I'm like, oh come on! Like I don't need another technical
Oh,
failure. Stop.
I know.
It's like why are you doing this to me? We might need to actually do it again if that's okay with you. But unfortunately, I will have to end it at 7 because I had timed the stream, so it will still end at 7. But for me,
Okay.
that's comfortable enough because I've kind of like gotten the hang of it, and I've spilled tea everywhere. Oh my days! I've just spilled my tea everywhere.
Oh no.
That's okay. It's the
Hopefully you
nerves.
don't
It's
burn
the
yourself.
nerves. No, it's on the table. It's all right. I always keep serviettes nearby, just
Okay.
in case, and also for decor purposes.
Purposes, of course, yes.
Big multi-purpose thing. Anyway, babe. So let's go on to the next part of your podcast. So, and I think
Hmm.
I don't know what it was about your tone as well in this new episode. Your tones changed slightly. Was it because of the microphone? I don't know what it is. There's like this maturity about the whole podcast.
Well, I did talk about improving as I went along. So, like I said, thanks to my daughter who can practically force these episodes down my throat or down my ears,
Yeah.
so to say. I kind of um, could tell where I needed to improve in my delivery. I watched a few videos, like some people I enjoyed listening to as well, and then I kind of
Mhm.
sussed out exactly how I wanted to come across, which is what was the focus of the whole second season. So I'm really glad you noticed the difference because
I did.
there was a marked difference in everything that I was doing. And I managed to deliver everything so succinctly as well. I was really proud of myself that way
Yeah.
because I have a tendency to go off on a tangent. Sometimes when I start talking, I just go on and on and on. So
And
yeah,
it's smart.
definitely. Thank you for that. Thank you for noticing because I did sound and wanted to sound more mature and different, more
And you
dignified,
did. And
so
you
to
did.
say. Yeah.
Definitely. Is that because a lot of you went on to talk about getting a strong routine and sticking to your master plan? Is that part of how you've now kind of developed? You like morphed into this podcaster, this very confident podcaster.
I suppose so because the more, like I said, the more I did it, the more I realized I could do it, you know. And you get into a routine and you know how to structure your talks. You find the best way that works for you. So me, I just put things in point form, and then I just follow like a sequence, and then I just expand on them as I come along. And I
Yeah.
also noticed if I'm feeling good, if I feel great in myself, I can deliver really good podcasts, and I deliver them the
I
way that I
know,
want
right?
to. Yes, so my mood really, really plays a huge part. So I tend to not do, if I'm feeling stressed or for whatever reason, I stay away from the microphone because I know it won't come up the way I want it to.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is people to think, oh, she doesn't sound so right there.
I know,
They're
right?
supposed to be uplifting, they're supposed to be positive. People are supposed to take things away from these episodes. So,
Mm.
yes, I do make sure that when I'm feeling great is the only time I record an episode.
And
And also,
that's a really good point,
it
actually.
is, yes. I
Like
think this
literally
is key
when you're
for
feeling
me.
great.
This is certainly key, because it's helped me a lot. I just noticed that every time I record something and I feel great, or if I force myself to, it doesn't come out the way I really want it to. And more often than not, I end up not publishing it anyway. So it's a total waste of my time.
Oh yeah, it is, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. So I just wait
Mm,
until I feel great. I do my research beforehand, have my notes to hand. When I feel absolutely fantastic, I sit
mhm.
behind the microphone and then I just go for it.
Go for it. So my next question then, and most probably the last one, is how do you then get yourself into that mode? Like, because obviously you know you have it's one episode a week, right?
Yes. No, one episode fortnightly. I don't,
Okay.
because of everything else I'm doing, it would be sort of really difficult for me to have an episode every week. So I'm sticking to fortnightly for now,
Mhm. Okay.
until I can possibly do more. Yes.
Yeah. So how do you actually psych yourself up? Because you know you have to do two a month. You just do them all in one go,
If
or
I'm
do
feeling
you?
that great, I do
Yeah.
that. Yes. I
Okay.
power through both of them and then I have them on standby. So all
Yeah.
I need to do now is to work on the content, and as far as captions or captioning or publishing them on Instagram or letting people know that they're live, which is a
Yeah.
piece of cake. I'm sure if you've been following me, I actually did a copywriting course, which was the best thing that's ever happened to
It's
my
really
social
good,
media
isn't
life.
it? It's really, really
Yes,
good.
really good. It just opens up your mind and it shows you the things you've been taking for granted. So
Exactly.
yeah. So
Even
I do
even if
that.
it's because even when because people kind of take the whole thing of captions for granted. Because
Oh
when
yes,
you're captioning, that is copywriting. Like
it is.
literally, you're drawing people to a call to action. So it's all of those little things that I kind of look at in branding. It's like there's so many little, like there's the picture itself, then there's what you're talking about in the caption. Does it lead to anything? And then there's the colors you're using, the fonts you're using. Like
Exactly.
how is your picture? How soft is your picture? How is all of those things that kind of play into that? And then I'm assuming there's got to get to the blogging as well, or how to all of that. So it's like I think as well because it's been given a name copywriting, we have like little like sections. No, this actually is just for the press. That's
Exactly.
what
It
the
sounds
press
so
does.
complicated. I remember when I was looking for a course to do, it's funny you should mention that actually. And I was like, how do I word this? Because I've not heard anything. So I went to content creation. And then from then on, it just sort of, gave me a lot of options under the social media management sort of tab.
Mhm.
And then I saw copywriting. And then it kind of led to exactly what I was looking for. I was like, no, but wait a
Yeah.
minute. This doesn't
So for
sound
the
really
code,
right. Until I read through the summary and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And then I just went for
mhm.
it.
Oh my god! And you finished now, right?
I have, yes. My God. It's meant to be a 3 hour course, but it took me quite a while because it's a lot of information in the form of videos and everything.
Yeah.
And I wanted to take each and every bit in. So I felt like if I were just to power through 3 hours, it would be a waste. I'd have to go through them
And
again.
that's the thing, I think, as well with that whole especially nowadays, we don't have that much attention. If you're trying to power through something that really your body can only handle 45 minutes, and you're trying to power through 2 hours and 15 minutes more, and it's like the rest of it is just like, it just goes somewhere.
Over your
You
head,
don't really hear it, do
completely
you?
over your head. And the thing with learning new things when you're an adult, you want to make sure that you get value for your time. If you
Yeah,
want to learn something, you want to learn it and you want to have it sussed out. It's different from when we were growing up. We took learning
yeah.
for granted. But now, if I'm going to sit behind a computer and learn something, I want to make sure I understand exactly what I'm learning because I just don't have that much time to waste anymore. Between cooking dinner, taking my daughter to swimming
Tell me
lessons, and
about it.
whatever else, it's really difficult. So I make sure I make a maximum use of my time. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose in the same breath, which is why I was like, okay, no, in my head, I've just told myself, I'm only going to do these lives. We're going to do four in a row and then take a break. Then do another four and take a
Hmm.
break. Because I've noticed that if I try and just go, 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 I just get burnt out with all the
Absolutely.
101 things that we do,
That's it.
especially when you're a mom as well. You just get burnt out. And I think that's my mistake that I'm learning from. Is like, I've been churning out content and just churning out content, doing reels every single day, IGT videos, like content after content, like, and just, but even though it was scheduled, there were days when I had to sit for 8 hours just to plan it all out. And that meant the following day I couldn't really do much because I was quite burnt out. Although it meant that I didn't have to do anything else for the next 3 weeks, which was great.
Exactly.
But it was like, okay, now I kind of need to start working smarter and taking out and start enjoying the process of content creation, because I really wanted to turn this Tuesday thing into a proper show, like live at 6. And, it's got a whole name now, it's got proper branding now, it's got the things around it, So I really wanted to make it something that kind of showcased me a lot more,
Yeah.
and I was like, I prefer this format of creating content where I'm talking to someone. And what I love about this whole setup is the fact that you can stream to so many different platforms. And then actually you also mentioned on your podcast that you'll be doing a lot more recording and then extracting the audio to create podcasts. Oh no, what's happened to my thing? Are you frozen? Oh, come on. Elima, hello. Oh dear. Okay. Oh, looks like she's gone. We're gonna have to try this again some other time. What's happening? I'm frozen. What is happening? Stop freezing me. Oh, no. Oh, anyway, it looks like Elima's device has come offline, probably due to a connection or something. Or it could be me. Could be me. So I'm gonna end the podcast. And thank you so much for joining me today. Join me again next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. and I'll be talking to another guest, and we'll be talking more about content creation and strategy, how to launch things and like literally execute this whole business thing like a boss. So I will join you next week on another live at 6 with Being Unique for Being Unique by Unique Wonder. And I will see you guys next week.